All right, team, welcome back to the Ask Maddie show. We are going to have a banger for you today, I promise, because today we are going to be discussing and charting Zcash, a crypto that we have strayed away from talking about altogether completely. You guys showed little to no interest. Our last Zcash show was April 10th, 2024. Maddie just told me before the show it was at $28 then. Maddie, what's Zcash at today?
Yeah, we're trading time of recording right around $51, $52 right now. So, hey.
Feeling pretty good with that, Matt, especially because that was one that was very overlooked. It's obviously in a very specific vertical within crypto, being privacy. Not the sexy one. I think a lot of crypto, we could say, Matt, is not super sexy, but especially with Zcash, people can't really get on board with the idea of privacy itself. And so with Zcash, I'm very happy to bring it back today and kind of discuss it a little bit. Definitely get some charting on that because for some reason, Matt, when price does well, people want to talk about it again. There's also another crypto that you guys are asking about that the price is doing well, so you guys want to talk about it. So this is a reoccurring theme, but I just want to stress to you guys, you guys pulled back on us, we pulled back on you, we stopped talking about Zcash. But Matt, how often was it talked about on the live show?
Pretty much every day. I don't think that we've strayed from it, at least with our immediate audience that, stays invested, stays focused, is looking for incredibly discounted opportunities. So Zcash has always been a huge, topic for us. And of course, as we've kind of reached over some of these other areas that are making this a less of a value trade now, probably something we're not going to talk about as much as price starts to get a little bit more exciting. But we have really been beating this horse for the last 2-3 years, especially as we've gotten to some of these deep discounted prices.
Yep. So we're going to bring it on today. All right. I hope this doesn't bite us in the ass here. I hope the viewership still shows up. We've been getting a lot of viewership as of recent, team. So thank you for that. So we're going to reward you guys with a little bit of some of the extra curriculars. Before we get into the actual content for today, Matt, we have a big explosive week by Bitcoin last week, and now we're sitting a little flat. Altcoins peeling back a little bit. What do you do in this time where it feels like nothing's going on? What do you do to benefit your portfolio?
Yeah, so, for the most part, guys, I would say that there's still a lot of opportunity out there, whether we're looking at API3 or Casper or Algorand, right? There's still a lot of opportunity out there. Sideways markets are truly some of the best opportunities for you guys to set up some sort of dollar cost average, just continue to take a little piece out of the market each and every day. Again, only in those high value opportunities, and really try to avoid doing all of your crazy buying as the market gets hot. This is really what we talk about in the bear market. Of course, are we at the bear market lows? No, but we're seeing that kind of behavior that you see in the bear market where you kind of just get that sideways accumulation, and it's a great opportunity. So cryptocharge.com, guys, we are doing those updates 5 days a week, pointing out those opportunities for you guys, coin library, giving you guys those either buy limits or DCA tolerances or combination of both. If that ends up being the case, we have the Discord for you guys to be able to ask follow-up questions, kind of show us what you guys are looking at. So I would definitely encourage you guys to be looking for those handful of opportunities out there. Of course, Bitcoin not being such a great opportunity right now, but that doesn't mean there isn't still tons of deeply discounted opportunities in the market.
Love that, team. Use code YouTube. Use code YouTube. We might have a special Father's Day code going out there. Matt, we need to do a giveaway. We haven't done a giveaway in a while, and I know you're the one that's always fronting the crypto or the funds for a giveaway, so maybe I need to pull some funds together and so we can do a collective giveaway instead of you just doing the giveaway. Let's get into the questions for today. Matt, are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Harry says, can we get a Zcash update, please?
Show can. So one of the important things that you guys need to look at when you guys are studying charts is, and I know I've mentioned this before, but we always have someone who's new join the channel, is that you guys want to look for the aggregated chart for anything that you're looking at. So for example, technically here on Zcash, we have price history that dates back to 2016. If I were to flip over to just the Coinbase chart, you guys would see that the price history looks like it's actually limited, or that the launch date was back here in 2020, which is not the case, right? So we're shooting ourselves in the foot by essentially not using the aggregated charts. So TradingView does their best to give us highly accurate data via these aggregated charts. So of course, one of the things that we do not consider is these illiquidity wicks. Just like on Casper, yeah, could I say that $60 or $70 is a possibility? Sure, but market cap wise, considering there's no actual closes in there, I don't use this as true registered all-time high. In fact, I don't even use the registered all-time high until we reach this high in 2018 of roughly $850, $900. Some charts show a little bit higher, some a little bit lower, but let's just call it $5,900, being kind of that local top. And then we kind of look at the actual lows that came in here. So let's come and look out to the weekly chart here, just so we can kind of see what's happened on a more macro level here. We obviously had a crazy scam wick down here at $10 back here in 2018. You have an actual registered low around $18 back here in 2020. You guys can see that we got an opportunity. What was the low of this session here? $15.85 was the low here in July of 2024. And I capitalized on that big time. I told my team, like, hey, all this dry powder I've been putting on the side here, I'm taking a big chunk of this. I'm throwing it at Zcash here. I'm lowering my average. This is a fantastic opportunity. I'm going to do it. And a lot of you guys did take that opportunity. And some of you guys even, were able to pick up the low 20s and really were able to give yourself a very flexible position on the way up. So one of the things that I look at here, guys, is I look at the swing high, swing low. So we're going to 2017 high and we'll go to the 2024 low. Because again, registered high, registered low, no craziness. We have weekly candle closes here. I think this is fair value. One of the things that we can see here is that we really have not even come in for that retrace since we created the 2021 high. So even this 236 here, right around 226 is a good value, and 382 right around 350 is a good value. We downgraded our first target to 350 or so to do at least a trim there. I would encourage most of our team to take a trim there just because it's a great risk to reward even from current. Of course, now at $50, it's less, but we were encouraging this $35 mark very, very heavily over these last few weeks here, which is almost a 9x opportunity from that level. As you guys can see, that opportunity, right? It's the opportunity become less now. It's only about a 6x opportunity now that we're roughly the $50 mark, and that's crept up on us in just the last few weeks. We also can see here, guys, that there is clear imbalance here right around $90. I do believe that's our next big area of interest. I also see this 128 area as a very big area of interest here on the weekly charts. And of course, we have other moon targets here looking at, roughly $1,400-$1,500 as that big target. So one of the things that I really would encourage you guys to do is when you guys start to see these opportunities forming and you see that there's a key resistance level that hasn't been broken yet, that is your North Star to just continue to dollar cost average under that area of interest. I also see that there's a massive potential cup and handle here. I think this has been forming for a very long time. So basically, I would say since December 21, we started the top of this cup. And I think when this cup does finish, it's really going to give us a fantastic risk to reward opportunity. We look at the bottom of the cup to the top of the cup here. Let's call that roughly a 1,500% increase. We go from the top of the cup there, another 1,500% or so. That puts us right around $3,800. Now, I don't think that that is necessarily the end all be all. We have to wait for a $3,800 Zcash to take any sort of profit there. But I am going to be doing some at 350, so around 1,400, and then we'll look to see what goes on after that. Again, one of the things we also need to look at, guys, is market capitalization. You guys can see that there's only a 21 million max supply for Zcash, same as Bitcoin, right? Why? Because it's a proof of work model. We're distributing the same way, earning rewards for participating in the network, right? So in total, out of that, 16 million, a little over 16 million are in circulation right now. And current market cap is only 856 million, right? And that's a really, really small market cap. A $350 Zcash puts us just under a $6 billion market cap. When you compare that to Hedera and a variety of other things out there, it's really a very small market cap. So I think that at the very minimum, our take profit one's highly achievable. And even some of our other targets, when we look at kind of just the total expectation for market cap, $8 to $10 trillion by end of cycle here, I think it's a very reasonable expectation.
Maddie, flip back to the Zcash chart real quick, because out of curiosity, I just want to know, because we brought it up at the beginning of the show about, April 2024, a $21 Zcash. Now today, a $51 Zcash. What is the ROI difference to TP1 from $21 of last year when we were talking about it a lot? My average was at $18. So, we were buying the bottom of Zcash. And so, if you would have bought in 2024 when we were talking about it at that $21 price point, or right now, what's the ROI difference, with that measurement tool to TP1 right now?
Yeah, so again, right around 350 or so. Of course, you guys can chop it up however you want. I'm just trying to help my team secure the bag, make sure that we're mitigating risk on the way out as well, and potentially looking at other opopportunities. But from let's say $2021, it was roughly a 16x opportunity towards that 350 mark. However, from current market at almost $52, it is roughly a 500 or 580% move from that current market level, right? So you guys can see that not buying those very, very lucrative opportunities, doing the opposite of what everyone else is telling you. Hey, bull market's not coming, guys. Zcash is going to $6, going to $4, going to $2, right? You have to kind of chop out that noise, because the cost of waiting for confirmation is exponentially higher than you could ever imagine.
Peter says, I am worried about Ripple buying Circle. Maybe they don't need XRP anymore.
Oh, these are the kinds of questions that make me feel like collectively the average person doesn't understand what DLT is out to solve to begin with, right? there's never going to be a society where the average person is going to want to voluntarily transact with volatile assets, right? There's a reason why we don't go to Starbucks and pay with a fraction of a Microsoft share, or pay with a fraction of whatever your Chevron shares. It just doesn't make sense, right? Because those values are constantly changing. What is truly the value of most of this technology is laying other assets over these railways, and being able to make them more efficient, making them cheaper, making them faster, and of course, cutting out that middleman. But when you have institutions, you have entities that already are doing massive volume, whether we're talking about stablecoins, which are basically dollars, right? They're digital dollars, they're backed, one for one, or over collateralized in most situations. Why would you not want to see USDC, USDT run over the XRPL? That's the thing I think that you guys are missing here, is that any amount of value, whether we're talking about tokenized value as an NFT, we're talking about stable coins, which are the equivalent of moving dollars, being able to instantly transact and be able to transfer back and forth between different currencies, dollars, pesos, euros, pounds, doesn't matter. All of that can happen over XRPL. So really what happens if Ripple were to acquire Circle, right, essentially the ability to distribute USDC, why would they not lay that over the XRP railways? All this does is not only boost the ecosystem and creates a more liquid ecosystem, you now have a massive amount of volume that's happening on the XRPL, which in turn makes the price of XRP go up over time.
Boom, exactly. I don't think they know quite exactly what they hold. I think they hold like fairy dust, but XRP runs on the XRPL, and if USDC runs on the XRPL, that's going to bring a lot of demand for XRP. Think about all the DeFi, the liquidity pools. I mean, the access to XRP. I mean, it would be tremendous. Think about especially though, like Ripple, the company acquiring Circle. Matt, do you even think that's going to happen?
I think that they're probably going to need to put a lot more cash in the deal in order to even make that happen. Because remember, guys, Circle is well established. They've gone through the ringer with regulation. Same with USDT, right? And these guys are some of the biggest purchasers of U.S. Treasury bonds right now, like literally top 30 in the world. So I don't think they're willing to give up, everything they've built here in a very comprehensive product for very little money, right? So I think that we're going to be talking about potentially billions and billions of dollars as in relations to what needs to get that deal done versus a handful of millions of dollars.
Fia says, great XRP and Casper partnership update. Hey, are you guys up on a payroll and payment network like ZBEC, ZBCN? It's been on a tear recently. Very interested in seeing its future charting and if you may be buying in.
So not something that I've researched myself deeply by any means as of recent. I'm pretty much locked in with the majority of the stuff that I, want to be involved with this bull run. I think I've, pretty much tapped out in relation to number of positions. But of course, when you have big bullish price action, you're going to have your buddies telling you about it, and you're going to be hearing about it on Twitter and YouTube, and everyone's going to be telling you, hey, it's doing another 2x from here, it's doing another 3x from here. But of course, guys, we're always very contrarian in the way we invest, in the sense that we never want to chase those big green candles. It's actually like the blood oath that you take as a crypto charge member, is that you do not buy the big green candles. But let's take a quick look at the chart. We did cover this on Friday. This was part of our technical tune-ups Friday segment. If you guys are interested in having your picks brought on stream, we do that each and every Friday. You guys can bring up to 2 picks each week. So it's a great opportunity for that. But let's go ahead and take a look here at the ZBEC chart. Let's come out to the daily, right? Because we're out here on the weekly chart.
I see it, Matt. I see why they're all interested.
Right, of course, and price has just gone absolutely, parabolic over the last, couple months here. From the April 23 low, price has done roughly a 520% move up to that peak from trough to peak, 670% move from trough to peak. Now, one of the things that we look at here, we go swing high, swing low off the April high to low in here. We reach out to a 1.618 perfectly, right? Perfect extension. And I hope this also illustrates a little bit to you guys that like these Fibonacci's work because the market makers are following logarithmic growth. It's not a parlor trick. There is just simple math behind the growth patterns that happen in most markets, whether we're talking about FX, stock, or otherwise. So we've already reached out to a full extension, and I would never buy an extension. I would also never buy, even from when we see this, more recent pump here from May 13, a 250% move, still up almost 190% from current market. Just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I also can see here, and again, regardless, I could care less about the fundamentals. I'm treating XRP the same way, so I hope that you guys see that I'm not calling the kettle black here. But you guys can see that we had some support back here in May. May, broke down, big resistance here in February, big resistance here in May, broke out, absolutely no backtest. So I would say downside risk here for this particular asset is almost 50% to the downside. That's what I would need to see as a minimum to say breakout backtest has been completed, no imbalances left behind, and market makers are ready to move price higher. So I would really encourage you guys to hold off on opportunities like this when you see that price has pushed up so heavily. Now, if you're like, hey, Matt, I've done all my research, or I'm going to get really deep on the research on ZBEC network, I'm going to really understand the deeply fundamentals here. I'd love to be involved in this project. I know I can't buy right now. Get it on your hit list, right? Get it on a watch list. Make sure that you do your research. And then when price does come to your area of interest, you can confidently say, yeah, I'm joining the trend that's intact. I'm joining in a higher low. And I know this is fundamentally sound. I'm not just aping into this huge, massive God candle that's popped over the last several days. What goes up must have to come down. If we also take a look quickly at our indicator here, let's bring an RSI, Relative Strength Index, and let's see where we are on this. Look at that green up here. That means we are in deeply overbought territory. Now, can we stay there for extended periods? Of course. But eventually, we will see some sort of cool off. So I still think that we're pretty much at the very top of RSI here, still deeply in overbought territory. I would encourage you to express some patience and be a little bit more tactical with an entry if you are insistent on joining the subtrend.
Daniel Mayo says, what happened to API3, man? LOL.
I mean, what did happen to API3? I mean, we had a nice V bottom here at the top of March, right? We saw a nice like 200% move over 12 days from those lows after breaking into asymmetric lows. Again, I pretty much did a solo API3 DCA down here, and I told my team that for when we broke below this like 65 cent region. So we had roughly 2 weeks of me doing a solo DCA down there, brought that average down super aggressively, turned the DCA back off, came back in my DCA zone, turned the DCA back on, but not as with as much tenacity. It's not super complicated. I really just have these super binary levels that create tolerances, and then I make decisions based on what's going on there. I'm not like have this tribalistic mindset by any means. So API3 under 87 cents right now is very much in the DCA zone. Deep value is going to be 65 cents. That's key support right now. And again, one of the things that we can look at when we take a look at our coin market cap here, if we were to bring API3 up, I want to remind you guys how small. Oops, we have API Inu. I absolutely hate that. Hate that for a million reasons. When we look at market cap, 69 million, guys, right? Like that is an incredibly small number, right? That's microscopic. And you guys have seen shit coins fly, that we're at 70 million, $100 million to, a few $billion. API3 has real utility, right? 148 million total supply right now. That's honestly not a huge number. Circulating supply, 86 million. So this actually gives us opportunity where, total circulating supply is not massive. Market cap is very, very small. And it's an oracle that's integrated super heavily into a lot of DeFi protocols. So I look at even the risk to reward from current market. You guys can see that the 1.618 puts us around $16. Really, we're talking about a very, very small market cap here, right? A little over $1 billion. And that gives us almost a 20x opportunity from current market. So again, you're looking at Zcash. We just did the math on that, right? We saw that when you guys were buying those lows, you saw that there was a $20, $21, $22, $18 opportunity up into that 350 mark, right? We're looking at like an 18x from current market. Now we're looking at well under a 10x. So there is a very big cost to that confirmation. So I see that once we get back above this 87, 90 cent level, that we're likely going to see some more continued recovery from there. It's a very liquid pocket. But while you guys are given this gift of being under a major DCA tolerance, I would absolutely capitalize on it. Do not chase the Bitcoin out there. Do not chase the ZBEC that's done, a 300% move over the last 3 days. Take the easy trade, right? Like, don't make this hard on yourselves.
Right. Yeah. And that's how that's how I felt like I reached this success with my portfolio, Matt, is I took the easy trade. I took the opportunities out there, like the Zcash opportunity. That opportunity was there, and it was, the price was so lucrative. The upside was so tremendous, 1,600%. And then you bought it, and then now you're feeling pretty good. It's turning around. The market, Bitcoin is turning around a little bit. Yes, we need to see, some big tenacity to the upside from the altcoins, but it will come. And when it does, it will come hard. It will come really, really hard. And then my portfolio will feel it. But Matt, API3 is a freaking gift right here. Out of this whole show, API3, if you're passing up on API3, you're shooting yourself in the foot, because out of Zcash, out of XRP, out of ZBCN, API3 is really the move out of all the cryptos on this show today.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. It's an easy opportunity. I mean, there's other opportunities on my hit list here that I like as well, but I think API3 is probably one of the easiest DCAs right now. Also, just no running around to other exchanges. You got it on Coinbase. You got it listed everywhere. You can
Right.
just set up your DCA like you do with everything else. Really, really easy opportunity, and those are my favorite kinds of trades. Eventually, there will be less. There'll be no easy opportunities, right? And you're going to have to tactically, either wait for that higher low or just be like, you know what, I'm not adding anymore. But there's a handful of opportunities that we've identified out there for you guys that are still easy trades. So I'd encourage you guys take the easy route until there isn't an easy route anymore.
Words of wisdom, Maddie. Team, a lot of value there. Do not take this as a show and be like, okay, I'm done, thinking about crypto this week. Actually act upon it. Set up your DCA on Coinbase or whatever your preferred exchange is. We use Coinbase. Coinbase is easy. Right from my bank account, buy API3, pull that off to my ledger. It makes it very, very simple. So, team, do that. Do not just, this isn't all hypothetical here, how we're going to hypothetically become rich. You become rich by buying the asset and then selling the asset. You don't become rich by thinking about buying an asset or buying the asset and not selling it. You become significantly wealthy in this crypto market by buying the lows, selling the highs, and then going back into the lows and buying again and doing it over and over and over and over again until you can't anymore. So, team, if you got something valuable here, make sure you leave a like. Regular schedule back on track for next week. So, we'll be coming at you with some hot news on Monday. But until next time, team, bye.